Hello everybody, this is Brad Reed. I'm a real-life trader and I'm here reminding you to be good. And by good, I mean get out of debt, achieve your financial dreams, and give generously to your community. What's up everybody? Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching this video. You guys have heard me say a lot, be good and get out of debt. Well, this video will tackle that on how to do it. So let's get going. Of course, the first thing we get to do is address the needs of the really expensive lawyers out in California. Everything that I talk about in this video series is a generalized and broad-based education system meant for education and entertainment. If you seek personalized and individualized advice, I am unable to give it over the recorded webinar or even if you're live here in the room. So if you do seek such individual and specific attention, you need to seek a competent individual in your area. All right, so the main takeaways over the whole financial series. Number one, make all financial decisions together. Make these decisions with your spouse, with your partner, with your legally bonded, financially accountable, whatever you want to call that thing. Spouse, partner, maybe you are financially bonded with a parent or whatever relationship you have, make all those financial decisions together. I think most people watching the video and here on the webinar, that's their spouse. And one thing I just wanted to kind of throw out there, when my wife and I did this together, we had a strong marriage before, but we both agreed that we think it improved our marriage, getting on the same page. 50% of divorces here in America are because of financial reasons. And a lot of the things in this series will help alleviate that strain. Key Wester says it's about communicating. Exactly. And by kind of having a focused goal and a focused topic and a step-by-step method on how to structure your finances and how to go, video by video, it helps guide that communication. I'm a very strong advocate that this type of planning, especially the budget part and this get out of debt part, should be part of every premarital counseling. At any rate, enough of my soapbox on make all financial decisions together. Success equals opportunity plus preparedness. If you're not prepared when that opportunity comes, you are unable to be successful. Part of being prepared means having a plan. Most people here are stock traders, and every time we get into a stock trade, we have a plan on when to get in, when to get out, and if it goes against us, and when to get out to lock in a profit. A lot of people have plans when they go to the grocery store, but few people have a plan for each paycheck. By the way, that's called the budget. That was in the previous video. And few people have a plan for retirement. They think it's just going to spontaneously and magically happen. And by the way, in 2 videos, in 2 weeks from now, I will talk about retirement planning. And I've got some calculations, some free web pages and online calculators for you to use that, let's see, I talked to one financial advisor. I'm not going to say what big giant company he worked for, but they said that they paid about $3,000 a month for the tool that I'm putting out there for free. So at any rate, some cool stuff. I've not heard any financial advisor talk about this or reference this, and I'm going to give it to you for free. Again, that's in 2 weeks. Yeah, Key Wester says that retirement one sounds awesome. I hope so. I hope I'm not building up these massive expectations and then people are like, really? You know what? That's my really big concern about the next Star Wars movie, because some of the last ones that came out were not as good as the originals. And at any rate, okay, I'm going to go back to like the topic. Item number 4 there is spend less than you earn. If you want to be financially successful, this is a key. I don't care how financially successful you are. The Kardashians spend less than they earn. Congress does not. I'll let you decide which side you want to fall on. Retirement is not an age. Retirement is not a right. Retirement means that you are spending less than your money grows after inflation. And again, we'll talk about that one in more detail in about 2 weeks. So again, here is the map of the financial fundamentals videos. The first 3 are about education and topics and just kind of talking about and maintaining a basis of some understanding And then the pregame are just some really quick things you need to do. The budget may not be a quick thing, but it is certainly a tool that you need to build, again, with your spouse, with your partner. And then the first one is part of winning, getting out of debt. These next few are going to take a little bit longer. They're going to take a little bit more sweat, but this is when you actually get out there and start doing it. You start winning with your money. Stop losing with your money and start winning with your money. And if you're new to real life trading, swing on over there. There's a ton of free stuff over there. We give out free stock trades, free setups, and it's all free. Did I mention it was free? There's free education at any level for any type of trading. It's all free. Then there's a bunch of articles and videos and yeah, all of that you can read over there on the right. All right, so in this video, I'm going to go over again why debt is the opposite of wealth. That was in the key concepts video. I think that was the second one. But a very, very important thing to understand that if you are in debt and if your debt is growing, that is the opposite of becoming wealthy. That's the opposite of becoming financially independent. And that was a big wake-up moment I had to have about the time I turned 30 years old. I will talk about the elements of debt and specifically which elements are the most painful. Most people think that it's the interest rate that's the most painful element of a debt, and I will argue a different point. Talk about how to get out of debt, and then I'm going to make a case for why you want to get out of debt before you choose to invest. Now, I know Jeremy Newsom has a different viewpoint, but I'm going to make my case, and of course, you guys are adults. You can make up your own decision. All right, so again, debt is the opposite of wealth. When I give talks or seminars and I'm talking to people face to face, and even over the webinar, I ask people, why do you want to get out of debt? And most people give me the answer that they want to get better rates on loans. They want to get larger loans. They want to get approved for more stuff. And all of these answers center around, they want to get into more debt and they want to get into debt even faster. So it's like, why do you want to get out of debt? Because I want more debt. I want to get, more in trouble. Well, what these people don't understand is that if you sold everything that you own and you were able to pay for everything that you own, you would be broke. Now, for most of us, our first thought is being broke is bad, but actually, most people in America are less than broke. Yeah, they are in debt. If you have more assets than you owe, then you're wealthy. And of course, if you have a lot more assets and money than what you owe on them, then you are well on your way towards becoming financially independent and on your way towards being able to retire. Again, I think I've told you I had a buddy that was very, very good at investing and was very, very good at keeping his costs low. And he was able to retire when he was 35 because he avoided debt. If you add up everything you have and are not able to pay for your debt, you are in debt. And if you do what I was doing, which is, owe money on a house, on a car, on a boat, on a TV, on a couple of musical instruments, owe money on a stereo. I owed money on a bed and on a couch. Yeah, I didn't really own anything. I just had a lot of debt. But I was poor, and I could argue I was royally hosed. All right, so what a lot of people do is they love to buy cars, and they love to buy things, and they love to buy meals with credit cards, and they buy clothes with credit cards. And I'm going to use the example of a car here, but feel free to substitute dinner or clothes or movies or trips or vacations, anything that you want instead of the car. And I think you'll find out the numbers work out almost the same. Not that you're going to spend $20,000 on dinner, but again, I'm rambling on. So here we go. If you were to buy a new car, and let's say that car costs $20,000, and you saved up $2,000, and you say, hey, I got $2,000, I'm going to go buy me a $20,000 car. I'm going to put 10% down. That's pretty good. And I'm sure any of the banks, the loan agents, or the car salespeople that are going to get incredibly heavily incented and rewarded by these banks to sell you that car. They're going to say, hey, yeah, 10% down payment, that's pretty great. So you buy a $20,000 car, you put down $2,000, you owe $18,000 in a car, and you're feeling pretty good about it. But that's not really the case, because the problem is the car is now worth $17,000 or less, And if you were to wreck it, the insurance company would pay you about $14,000 because most insurance policies will only pay you what's called the wholesale value. So in review, you saved up $2,000, but now whatever you bought worth it is worth somewhere around $17,000 to $14,000. So you're about $1,000 to $3,000 in debt after you saved up all of that money. And imagine if you bought dinner on a credit card and you eat the dinner, it's not worth anything. Or if you buy some clothes and you wear them, the clothes are not worth anything. Or they're certainly not worth what you paid for them. So you are unable to get back to being broke. So you are in debt. You are captured by these banks. But really, you wouldn't owe $18,000 after paying $2,000 for buying a new car because you owe interest, taxes, finance charges, transportation charges, documentation charges. And I've even had a dealership try and charge me an inventory fee. And it's like, you're making me pay because you couldn't sell this car. It's kind of one of those things where I just sat there and I looked at them. And after a long period of silence, they said, I think I can get that off. And I said, I think you can too. At any rate, but there's a whole bunch of ridiculous charges that go into a lot of debts. So let's just take the example, say 3% interest for 48 months. There's 5% taxes wherever you live. By the time you're all said and done with this thing, you're going to end up paying $22,000 for that $20,000 car. Now, one thing to note is that you got a 3% interest loan, but you're still going to be paying $22,000, over $22,000. That's not 3%. That feels a whole lot more like 10%. Granted, it's over 4 years, and if you want to argue with that, go ahead and argue. But the point is that when you buy a $20,000 car, you're going to end up paying a whole lot more than $20,000, even if you put 10% down, because of all of these charges and interest payments that you have to pay. Now, I have made case that rich people get richer because they don't buy things with debt. They save up and then they invest and then they pay with cash. So let's say instead of making that car payment, you invested $420.55 per month into like a brokerage account, a stock trading account, or even you opened up an account with a financial advisor and you let the advisor take care of it. But all of those three are viable options. And let's just say you earn 10% rate of return or return on investment per year, and that's the stock market average. So you don't have to be a crazy awesome investor. You just have to be an average investor. Oh, and by the way, if you want to learn how to invest for yourself, go to www.reallifetrading.com. But if you only earned 10% per year, which is the market average, after 42 months, granted not 48 months, in 42 months, you could save up $21,000 because that's the price of the car plus the taxes. No interest payments, no finance charges, no documentation fees, no inventory fees, no transportation fees, or any of that other ridiculous stuff. You would have contributed $17,663.31. So let's be sure we understand what's going on here. If you buy a car and you use a debt instrument, you could be paying 10% more. If you buy a new car and you have saved and invested, you are effectively paying about 20-30% less if you invest for yourself and pay with cash. This is one reason why the rich get richer, because they don't buy things with debt. Okay, rich people buy things that go up in value. In debt people and poor people buy things that go down in value. They have a lot of their money in things that are going down in value, like cars, like clothes, like food. And rich people have the majority of their money in things that are going up in value. And if they do have to buy something that they know is going to go down in value, like a car, like a dinner, like clothes, like a TV, they don't buy it with debt instrument. They don't use a credit card. They don't take a loan for it. So this is why debt is the opposite of wealth. It probably sounds pretty easy when you talk about it and you put numbers on it and letters on it, but a lot of people conceptually inside believe that getting loans and that getting good interest rates on loans and being able to borrow money is a sign of being financially successful. It is not. If you are borrowing money and you are getting low interest rates and you are able to borrow a lot of money, that is a sign of being in debt. That is a sign of being on your way towards being poor or royally hosed, which is where I was headed. Cool. All right. The average household in the United States of America has $15,000 in credit card debt. That may sound like a lot, but it sounds like even more when you consider the fact that the median income, the middle income, the typical income for the United States is about $51,000. That means like about 25 to 30% of the money that someone has is in debt. If they make the minimum payments, it'll take over 23 years to pay it off. And that's the average household. All in all, if you add up all those payments on that $50,000 of credit card debt, you're looking at about $39,000. So I looked at bankrate.com just a few days ago, and it said that the median credit card interest rate was 29.99%, nearly about 30%. But notice that if you have $15,000 in credit card debt at a 29.99% rate, by the time you pay it all off, it will be much, you could have borrowed that money twice. It's like 2.5 times, 250% interest. It's crazy. And then that first monthly payment that the average household has is about $600. I mean, $600 should be a small mortgage payment. It should be a rent payment. It should be a payment on an ungodly car. That's assuming that you are making payments on your cars, which you should not be. But $600 is a lot of money, especially if you're spending $600 on a TV you bought 3 years ago, or a shirt that you bought 2 months ago, or dinner that you bought last night. You know, that's a lot of money that you're paying on stuff that has little to no value. All right, so the anatomy of debt. What are debts? What you owe has to do with the debt and the interest rate of the credit card or the loan or the furniture store. And let me mention this now. Even if it's a 0% interest rate, the value of what you bought is going down in value so fast that you're still losing money, even if it's a 0% interest rate. And you want to know why they offer you a 0% interest rate? You think, wow, they're not making any money off of this. Oh, they're making an insane amount of money. Because if you miss one payment, if your check gets lost in the mail, if they receive it, but they don't put it in the right place, then they jack up your, you get fees, penalties, you get interest rates that are calculated back to day one. And just about all of those things that I've said have happened to me. The check, I mailed the check got lost in the mail. There's been times where they actually received the check, they cashed the check, but they put it in the wrong account, and so they hit me with all of these interest, penalties, and fees, and it took me a whole long time to get things reversed. But even a 0% interest rate is not a winning deal, even if you do make the payments, even if you do, because the value of what you have is not worth it. If something were to happen, some emergency, and you were to need the money, need the cash, you would not be able to sell the instrument or sell the item and pay back what you owe. So even 0% interest rate is a trap. All right, continuing on with the anatomy of a debt. What you owe has to do with the actual amount of the debt plus the interest rate. The minimum payment has to do with what you owe times a certain percentage that is decided by the bank. And then they add a fee, and then they add a penalty, and they add a this, and they add a that. And then, of course, you end up making your payment, subtract that from what you owe, and then that's the debt number for the next calculation. Now, as what you owe gets smaller, as we saw in the previous chart, the monthly payment gets smaller and extends the number of payments, but the fees and penalties that you pay stay the same, and you keep paying those fees and penalties. So let me see if I can go back to the previous page. And does my cursor work? Yeah, it does. Okay, so notice as the amount of debt that you pay here gets smaller, so you're paying off your debt's getting smaller, but every single month you're still making a penalty. You're paying penalties, you're paying fees, you're paying all of these miscellaneous charges, and these numbers down here, these are years. So there's 12 payments for each one of these ticks down here. And the reason that they don't just go ahead and get you paid off, even though at the end of this you're carrying a ridiculously small amount on that credit card, they're still getting fees and penalties, and the bank's still making a whole lot of money off of fees and penalties. That's why they don't want you to pay your credit cards off super duper quick. They want to extend you and draw you out as long as they possibly can because they want to collect the fees and the penalties. That's where they're making their money. So going back, as what you owe gets smaller, the monthly payments get smaller, extending the number of fees and penalties that you will eventually pay. That's the trap. It's not the interest rate that gets you. It's the fees and it's the penalties. I hear stories of a lot of people that want to get out of debt and they start paying the highest interest rate debt that they have, or they start trying to consolidate everything. That you will even pay money to consolidate to get into a lower interest. That is not the magic. That's not how it works. You got to get rid of those fees and penalties. The fees and penalties can make your interest rate feel much larger. So imagine you had a $30 minimum payment on a credit card, and then you have a $15 late fee or a penalty or a processing fee or a transaction fee or any of those ridiculous things that they call it, but you've got $15 in fees. Well, that's like having a 50% higher interest rate because of that fee or penalty. So we got to tackle those fees and penalties. We got to get rid of those. Now let's not forget the real pain of going into debt. I'm going to change that word to danger. The danger of going into debt is that you can't sell the item to pay off the debt. The reason primary mortgages and the house that you live in are typically considered safe investments is that the vast majority of the time, the house grows in value faster than the debt does. So you pay off the debt, the house grows in value. Just about any time you can sell the house and pay off the debt. The reason we are talking about a crisis right now, and the reason you hear the term mortgage crisis right now, is because the way the interest rates changed and the way the values of houses plummeted and all that kind of stuff happened, is because all of a sudden people were not able to sell their house and pay off the mortgage. And that was called a crisis. But yet when people buy a car or a shirt or a meal or anything else with a debt instrument and they can't sell it and pay off the debt, that's called normal. I'm telling you, if you bought something with a debt instrument and you are unable to sell it, pay back the debt, that is a crisis as well. You got to get that into your heart. You got to get that into your mind. You got to get that into your conversations. You got to get that into the way you deal with money. If you can't sell it to pay off the debt, it's a bad debt. So next time you pull your credit card out to pay for dinner, think about how much that dinner is worth that you just ate. It's probably not worth very much. So pay for it in cash. All right. So most people don't have one debts. They have a whole bunch of debts. And as you can see right here, there's a whole bunch of fees and penalties that you're paying. So again, it's not the interest rate that gets you, it's the fees and penalties. The quickest way out of debt, is to pay the smallest debt first so that you can get rid of those fees and penalties. Then after you wipe out the smallest one, you take all that you were paying, all of the minimum payments, all the fees and penalties and payments, they were what you're putting on that smallest one, and you put it on the next one. And you keep going, and you kept building up towards the bigger and bigger and bigger payments. And by the time you knock out the first 1, 2, or 3 of these things, the amount of money that you're able to throw at the next smallest debt is humongous. You know, imagine if you have a $600 credit card payment because you're an average household that owes $15,000. Once you get that credit card paid off, you now have $600 that you can put on the next debt. I mean, imagine if you had a $300 car payment, but you're making $600, you're paying $600 a month. Oh, and by the way, you're not paying $600 a month. You're paying $900 a month because you were already paying $300 a month on that car. You were paying $600 on the card. You don't have the credit card anymore. You're putting $900 a month on that car. How many months is it going to take you to pay off the car? It'll be less than a year, because even if you, what's the math? 900 times 12, that's $10,800 on a car payment. I mean, you know, if you're paying $10,000 a year on your car, you're getting that thing knocked out super duper quick. All right, got an internet connection. Gonna wait for that to come back. Make sure I'm still connected and still recording. Oh, and of course that would happen right in the middle. Well, I think I'm done with this slide. I'm going to go ahead and transition to the next slide and assume it's recording. And if you want to be good, if you want to get out of debt, the first thing you got to do is to stop going into debt. All right, Key Wester says, agree, then move on to the next. All right, my recording's back, so I'm going to keep going. All right, the way to get out of debt is, first of all, stop going into debt. All right, get rid of the credit cards. Get rid of this notion that when you go buy furniture at the furniture store or electronics at the electronics store. Get that thing out of your head that you're going to go onto the payment plan. Even if it's a 0% interest payment plan, it's a trap. Okay, the bank that's offering you that isn't some big, huge, multi-billion or trillion-dollar bank, because people take advantage of them. That 0% interest, that super low interest, is a trap. You are much better off saving up the money in cash or in an investing account, in a trading account, or with a financial advisor. And then once you have enough money, then go buy the item. I promise you that item will still be there, or a better one. All right, how to get out of debt. First of all, stop going into debt. Put that credit card back in your pocket, or better yet, put it in the trash can. In the last video, I talked about how to build a budget. You need to build a budget. You got to have a budget. You are not going to get out of debt unless you have a budget on paper, on Excel, on Google Docs, on a spreadsheet. You got to have a budget. And then you put all of your minimum payments into that budget. Whatever available cash you can find, you throw it at the smallest debt first. And then once that debt is complete, as Key Wester says, you move on to the next one, right? After you pay off the smallest debt, then you go to the next smallest, and you keep building up to the larger and larger and largest debt. You continue until all the debts are paid off except the primary mortgage, and then we need to talk about self-insuring, insuring yourself against minor disasters. That is what we call an emergency fund. We can talk about your retirement fund and kids' college before paying off the primary mortgage. But all the other debts need to be paid off. All right, so how do you do that? Number one, it's important that you stop going into debt. Stop swiping that credit card. Have I said that once or twice or 50 times? Stop swiping the credit card. Stop signing for the loans. Even if you think it's a low interest debt, it's really not. All right, be sure you have a budget. Don't try and get into debt without doing the budget. You know, if you go back to the first 2 or 3 slides, I have a layout of the order of events in order to get out of debt. And they're structured in that way for you to be successful, how I did it. So go back and take a look at that list if you need to, but you got to have a budget, you have to have a budget before you get out of debt. David Barron's counting, he said I've said it at least 37 times. David, I think you must have missed a couple, because if I haven't said it at least 37, I'll say it. Stop going into debt. Stop going into debt. Stop going into debt. All right. Lower interest rates are not the solution. Don't chase the interest rate. Just get the smallest one and throw all the money at that. Get that one knocked out so you're avoiding all of the penalties and fees and all that other crazy stuff they add on. Now here's a controversial one. Temporarily stop your savings contributions and your investing. And the reason is that you've got to get these penalties and fees taken care of. Your debt is growing if you're not paying it off. So you got to get that paid off. And mathematically, the way it works out is if you throw everything at the debts and get that paid off, then when you're all done, you can go back to taking that massive amount of money that you were throwing at the debt, put that into savings, and your savings will end up being bigger than if you try to do both at the same time. Mathematically, that's the way it works out. Now here's another one. Sell everything that you possibly can. Okay, go into the basement, find all the stuff in there, go into the attic, find all the stuff in there. I've sold cars, I sold boats, I sold skydiving rigs, I sold musical equipment, I sold stereo equipment, I sold helmets. I'm trying to remember everything that I've sold. And the big exception that always comes up is, you know, my great-grandma used to have this painting that hung in her living room, and it was her favorite painting, and she left it to me, and it makes me so happy. You know, it's out of style now. We have it down in the basement, and, you know, it's somewhere down in there, but just the fact that it's in my house makes me happy. And great-grandma Susie wants me to have that painting. And one thing you got to ask yourself, and I've challenged people with this, and they usually give me a dirty look, but I think they give me a dirty look because I'm right. Would great-grandma Susie rather you be in debt if it means keeping on to that painting? I have a feeling great-grandma Susie would rather you be out of debt and financially successful then hold on to that item. That's the David Barron says you can sell everything but the kids. Yeah, Dave Ramsey has an expression that says, oh, what is it? Sell things so fast that the kids think that they're next. Something to that effect. At any rate, Dave Ramsey was a big influence in helping me get out of debt, as was Susie Orman. Steve Sikowski was a big help. Yeah, I had a lot of mentors, but Dave Ramsey on the Dave Getting Out of Debt was a big influence, and I'm actually going to show his book here in just a little bit. All right, sell everything that you can. Garage sales. Another thing that you can do is get an extra job temporarily. At the time we're doing this video, it's October 21st, and the Christmas season is coming up. Key Wester says, Ramsey is great. I agree. Ramsey, especially on the get out of debt, the debt part. T-Money says he has the financial PCDs. Nice. Nice. There are some things I disagree with Dave Ramsey about, and some of that comes from my own experience. Some of it comes from other financial gurus that I've studied with. But yeah, certainly on the getting out of debt, he has the best plan. Item number 6, getting out of debt is to get an extra job temporarily. Dave Ramsey says sell pizzas. You know, a lot of times the pizza delivery guy is on Friday and Saturday nights. If you have young kids like mine, they're typically asleep. It's a great time to go out and get some work. And the pizza delivery folks or whatever delivery folks, they just about always need people. There's what Uber is out now, and I'm not going to endorse Uber because there's questions over the safety and the validity of that whole thing. But if that's your style, get Uber and go become your own taxi service, basically. There's odesk.com. There are a number of websites that you can go to, and you can get contract work. If you are, someone with the computers, maybe you can build websites for people. There's a lot of things that you can do from your computer at home overnight. You can do things on a job-by-job basis. You don't have to have that, regular commitment if that scares you. If you grab a cooler or take $100, walk down to Walmart or Target, buy a cooler, buy a couple of cases of water, buy a bag or two of ice, and go stand on the corner and sell that ice for a 300 or 400 sell the water for 300 or 400% profit, right? You buy the water for 25 cents, you sell it for $1. That's a great way to make money on a Friday or Saturday afternoon. Take your kids with you. Teach your kids the lesson of hard work and how to make money. Mow lawns, babysit. At the dance studio where my daughter goes, once a month they have a parents' night out. And basically there's one teacher there, and there's somewhere between 10 and 15 and 20 kids, and each kid is paying, we're paying $20, $25 per kid or whatever. They're making a killing, right? They're working 4 or 5 hours, and I'm sure it's stressful, but they're making an enormous amount of money when everyone is bringing their kids. So offer a babysitting service, or Friday or Saturday, have parents' night out. There are a gazillion things out there that you can do. Oh, and I was mentioning it's October 21st. Christmas season is coming up. A lot of these stores in the mall, Walmart, Target, even some grocery stores, they're trying to hire additional staff, and they only want you for a couple of months, for a couple of weeks. So you can pick up that extra work. Oh, and by the way, you get store discounts. How fun would it be? I don't think Walmart and Target offer big store discounts, but how much fun would it be to not only get paid from the place, but also get a discount on the stuff that you're going to be buying anyway for Christmas gifts? At any rate, there are a ton of ideas for extra work. I know people don't like that word work. It's a 4-letter word, but if you're trying to get out of debt and you want to get out of debt quickly, go get an extra job temporarily, or even ask the church and go tell the church. Just say, hey, look, I got myself in trouble. I owe a lot of money. I'm looking for some extra work. Can I help you guys out and get paid for something? And the church that I go to, they have rakes, and it's pretty much a common thing. If someone wants some bucks, they hand you a rake and say, go rake some leaves or go do some work or whatever, and then they throw a couple of bucks at you. At any rate, okay, moving on. Eat at home, cancel vacations. Again, this has to do a lot with optimizing your budget. All of those expensive things on your budget, get rid of them. and stop the fancy stuff. Tell your family and friends your goal. And this is a great way to understand who is your friend and who is not your friend. Because if you tell someone, hey, look, I've realized that I'm going down the wrong path to being financially successful. So my family's going to do a little bit of crazy stuff here. We're not going out. We're going to be working a lot. Would really appreciate your help and support. If they make fun of you and say that's wrong, then they may not be the close loved ones and friends that you thought they were. If they say, hey, wow, that's great. How can I help you? Then you know that they are. And if these friends are the ones that are saying, hey, why don't you take a break from your get out of debt thing and let's go on a $10,000 spending spree in Vegas for a weekend. I don't know. I'm sure in Vegas you can spend $10,000 in a weekend if you want to. But you know, realize that you need to be aligned with people that are going to help you achieve your goals, not distract you. Getting out of debt usually takes about 6 to 18 months. And when you get rid of those penalties and fees on the first couple of debts, the next several debts, they really start knocking themselves out really quickly. And the next thing you know, instead of having a $600 credit card bill and a $300 car payment and this and that, you're spending, you know, you're putting hundreds and maybe even thousands of dollars every month towards your debt, and you get out of debt very quickly that way. All right, never, ever borrow against your house to pay off debt. I've heard of people doing this. They get some kind of home equity loan, a HELOC, or some other type of loan, and they put their house up. Realize that you are risking your house to pay for that sushi dinner that you ate last night. It's ridiculous. I understand you want to get out of debt. I understand that interest rate is really distracting. It's the shiny object. It's the magician waving his or her hand because they want you to look over here at the interest rate rather than looking over somewhere else where the magic is really happening. But don't risk your house to pay off the debt. Just buckle down, get some extra jobs, cut your expenses, and pay it off. Don't ever borrow against your house to pay off a debt. Also, never borrow against your 401k or your retirement funds. Now, some of the HR people that I've talked to, they love the idea of borrowing against your 401k because then you get a lower interest on your loan or whatever it is. I have a different point of view. I say you are borrowing against your retirement account and you are paying yourself a lower interest rate into your retirement account than you previously could have had. Also, even more scary is if while you are paying off this debt back to your 401k, if you lose your job, if you get sick, if for some reason you are unable to continue in that job, you get laid off, you get fired, or whatever you want to call it, you have to pay it all back, and you have to pay it back immediately. And if you don't, you're going to get whacked with taxes as if that withdrawal was income, and you're also going to get hit with a 10% penalty. So figure out your tax rate, add 10%, and that's what you could potentially be borrowing from your 401k. Instead, stop what you're putting into your 401k and instead throw it at the debt, get that debt done and gone, and then you can put an even larger amount into your 401k. Or you're going to see the video that I do in 2 weeks, and you might say, a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA can have a much higher interest rate than my 401k. And good Lord, if you're putting money into a pension, please watch the video. And I'll just give you the spoiler. IRAs, Roth IRAs, and traditional IRAs, if you have a good financial advisor, they should be turning anywhere from 9 to 16 to 20%, maybe even higher. A 401k is going to, or 403b or any of those equivalents are going to return somewhere around 6 to 8% per year, and pension funds are somewhere between 1 to 5% per year. Pensions are the worst form of investing, and I don't know, I think it's criminal how many people are required to put money into a pension fund. I know it's guaranteed, but you know, once you're done with the pension fund, it's gone. If you have a 401k or an IRA or a Roth IRA, and you pass, all of that money stays within your family. And plus you get higher rates of return. At any rate, the benefits outweigh the risks in my mind. Never cash out a retirement account except to avoid bankruptcy. We kind of talked about that. The interest that you get hit with, the taxes that you get hit with, really just, it makes the debt worse. Do not confuse needs with wants. Key Wester says, pensions, did you say 1%? Yes, I did. Some of these pension funds do not outperform inflation. Inflation's about 4% per year, and some of these pensions, meaning that by the time it's all said and done, inflation adjusted, the money that you put in is more than the money that you get back out. I do not like pensions. Now, most of them are going to be 5 or 6%. They're going to stay ahead of inflation, but just by a little bit. Just by a little bit. And by the way, we always say or hear that pension funds are guaranteed. Yeah, go back and look at a bunch of the headlines in 2007, 2008, 2009. Look at the headlines in 2000, 2001, 2002. These pension funds were closing right and left. All of the money that people have been putting there for 30, 40, 50 years, gone. And where's their retirement? Well, their retirement now is Social Security, which is below the poverty level, significantly below the poverty level. Of course, I drive a manual transmission car because I don't want some computer shifting gears for me. I want to do it myself. I think it's much better to get educated and do it yourself. All right, do not confuse needs and wants. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat down across the table or sat down on the phone one, and they say, we need $1,200 a month in car payments because you fill in the blank. Okay, I understand if you want a reliable car, but a reliable car does not cost $40,000. If there are 2 people of driving age living in the household, you don't need 3 cars. You don't need 2 cars and 2 motorcycles and a boat and an airplane. If you're in debt, get rid of the things that you want and stick with the things that you need. You don't need to eat out once a week. I know it's fun to have date nights and it's good for your marriage, and that's fine. And there are certainly things that you can do that are good for your marriage. On a picnic, right? Go to the grocery store, make you some sandwiches, and drive down the street to the park or to the lake or whatever, and sit on the bank. And I guarantee you, your marriage will be just as good as if you go spend $100 on dinner and a movie. Do not confuse your needs with your wants. Get as bare bones and as cheap as you can, and you will be amazed at how fast you get rid of the debt. And then all of a sudden, you end up with $400, $500, $600, $1,000 extra spending money in the month. And then you can really have fun going out and having fun and all those things that you need to do. So do not confuse needs with wants. All right. What I think is the best source for more information, if you think you have an exception, if you think you want to try this, or you shouldn't follow those rules I just said because of something or other, I suggest go getting Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover. It was magic for me. T-Money says that Dave doesn't condone day trading or trading. He thinks there's 4 types of mutual funds you should buy, and that's about it. I've seen those types of mutual funds just get completely obliterated in a bearish market. Anyway, I got a lot of reasons why I think buying mutual funds is a horrible idea, but that's what Dave Ramsey says, and if that's the rate of return that you need, then go do it. By the way, if you don't know what rate of return you need to see my video in 2 weeks because I'll show you how to calculate it. All right, so if you have questions, comments, feel free to email me, brad@reallifetrading.com, or buy that book. I have it. I've lent it to people. I have bought it for people. All right, the reason I think you should get out of debt before you get busy with investing, and investing includes retirement, kids' college, or trading your own account. Debt is guaranteed to grow, and investing is risky. Right? We've all had times where trades against us. We've lost money in a month. We've lost money in a year. We don't know when we invest that we're going to make money every single time. Debt, however, is guaranteed to grow. So I know a lot of people watching this video, and those of you on the trading floor or on the webinar right now are stock traders. How would you feel if I told you, hey, here's a trade idea. It's not going to return a lot, but it is guaranteed. I promise you this thing will work out. And it's not that I promise you, it's just guaranteed. It's going to turn out. You put money into this trade, you do this trade that I give you, it will work out guaranteed, right? It's going to be a small return, but it's guaranteed. I think just about everyone would be like, heck yeah, I want on that train. Well, that's what debt is, except it's not for you, it's against you. That debt is for the bank. Why do you think the bank lent you the money in the first place? Because the debt is guaranteed to grow. It's like weeds in your yard. They are guaranteed to grow unless you get out there and pick them out of the ground one by one. If you want to invest to get rid of your debt, it's like throwing grass seed down, hoping that the grass seed will eventually choke out the weeds. It might happen. It might happen. But how many seeds are you going to have to throw down in order to get rid of how many weeds? The best way to get rid of your weeds is to get out there and pull them one by one, then put the grass seed down. The best way to get out of debt and be good and financially successful is to pull those debts out, get rid of those debts one by one, and then invest, in my point of view. A lot of these debts have fees in addition to interest, and it can be tricky to understand just how much the debts actually are and how much they hurt. And a lot of investments have taxes on them, and they involve commissions and transfer fees. And if you want to pull the money out of the account, you may have to pay for a fee or a fee there. If you want to put the money into account, sometimes you have to pay fees. A very, very common argument that I hear from people is, hey, look, I can invest at 9 or 10 or 11%. You pick your number. And this debt that I have over here is a 5% debt. So if I invest and I get 10%, that's the market average, I can grow my money faster than the debt grows at 5%. Well, it sounds good, but when you realize that 10% is going to be taxed, okay, then that 10% comes down to, say, 7.5%. And then there's commissions and fees that take that 7.5% down to 6.5%. And then there's a withdrawal fee to get your money out, or a wire fee or something else. And that 6.5% comes down to 6%. And then you look at that 6% in real money is risky. That thing goes up and down every week, every year, but the debt is guaranteed to grow. I bet you most of the times you'll find out that the debt is going to grow faster and more reliably than your investments are after taxes, after commissions, after transfer fees, after penalties, after all that other gobbledygook that goes into it. Once again, my suggestion is to focus on that debt, get it knocked out as quickly as possible, and then go back to investing. Now, a lot of people want to learn how to trade. They are learning how to trade. It should take you about 6 to 18 months to learn how to trade. By the way, that's about the same amount of time as it takes to get out of debt. So while you are getting out of debt, practice trading. Then by the time you're done with your debt, you have all this free cash, this income. You can actually put it into a trading account, and you can completely obliterate, blow that trading accounting up, empty it, take it down to zero, and it does not hurt. It doesn't feel bad because you still have all this free cash coming in and the debt is gone. I will tell you that investing while you are out of debt is a whole lot easier than while you are in debt, because there's a pressure factor that you put on yourselves that, oh my gosh, I must be successful trading or else I won't be able to pay these debts, and then you start changing the way you trade, and that can get you in trouble. David Barron says, using a budget will help you focus on paying down the debt. Absolutely, it'll help you focus. It'll help you, I use the word help, and David used the word help. I'd say the budget is the only way that you're going to be able to get rid of your debts and still function your family unit and pay what you need to pay. All right, the end of the session. Here's what you need to do. First of all, update your financial mission. And I copied this from a previous presentation, but what I want you to do is write out on paper, type it into your computer somewhere, sit down with your partner and say what your current situation is. All right, you get your money at the beginning of the month. At the end of the month, where did it all go? How come we didn't have enough? Right? Our mortgage is this. Our utilities are about this. The car payment's about this. We should have had a whole bunch of money left over. Where is it? Why don't we have it? Well, you don't know because you don't have a budget. Or you may say we have too many bills and not enough paycheck. And I've been in the situation. I'm afraid to tell my wife or the kids that we can't afford that. And the reason is because I don't have a budget because I don't know where the money went. But write it out, because in about 6 months, when you're getting out of debt, you're going to forget where you were. You're going to forget the pain, the fear, the doubt, the worry, the concern. You're going to forget about the sleepless nights, and you need to write it down so you don't slip back into your bad habits. Second, what are you willing to do to change the current situation? What are you going to sell? Are you going to sell the motorcycles? Are you going to sell the race car? Oh, I sold a race car. I sold 2 race cars when I was getting out of debt. It was either take out a loan for the marriage, for our wedding, or sell the race car. Boom, that race car was gone. What are you willing to stop doing? I was eating sushi about once a week, and we stopped doing that. Now we might eat sushi once a month. It's probably once every 3 months that we go have a sushi dinner. But write out, what are all the things that you're willing to sell? The skydiving rig in the basement, granddad's violin that nobody plays. And by the way, if you're going to sell a musical instrument, especially an instrument that's comprised of wood, like a violin, get it appraised first, because you would not believe how many $1-million violins are sitting in someone's basement or attic that great granddad used to play. Musical instruments, especially wood-based instruments like violins, cellos, those types of things, they can go up in value as much as 10% a year. If they've been sitting in your basement for 30 years, well, you can do the math. What are you going to sell? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? We're going to start using a budget, and we're going to start using the envelope system to control our cash. And make a list of those things that you're going to do. Oh, and then do them. Maybe you want to start watching all of the videos in this financial fundamental series. And then describe what financial success will feel like and how you're going to know when you get there. Well, all of our debts are going to be paid off. We're going to be able to give 10% to the church and still have money left over. We're going to have the kids' college fund funded. We're going to have our retirement fund funded. We're going to have the house paid off, and we're going to be able to donate $1,000 a month to the church or whatever charity we feel like doing, and that's what we're going to do. And that's how we'll know when we'll be financially successful. Not only do you want to set a goal so you know what to aim for, but you want to know when to stop and when to celebrate. I hear about families that they saved up some monstrous amount of money, and they just keep going, and they don't ever take a break to celebrate. They'll have $2 million in the bank, but they won't go on a $3,000 vacation for a week or so, or they won't go on a cruise once a year or something. You know what? Write down what your success is, and when you get there, celebrate. And then list what are the steps to achieving that success, and then do it. All right, organize your debts from smallest to largest. Stop going into debt. Build all of your minimum payments into your budget. Put all available cash towards the smallest debt. When the smallest debt is complete, put the all available cash on the next smallest debt, and be sure that you're taking everything that you were putting into that smallest debt, the minimum payment, the penalties, the fees, all of it, and put it on top of what you were paying to the next one. So if you're paying $100 a month on the smallest debt and $200 a month on the second smallest debt, by the time you pay off the first one, you should be putting $300 a month towards that next smallest debt. Continue until all the debts are paid off except the primary mortgage. Once again, in summary, make all these financial decisions together. It's a great tool to build your bond with this person, and especially if you're not even bonded to them yet, like if you're engaged, a great way to go through some premarital partnership building is to be making financial decisions together. In order to be successful, you must be prepared when the opportunity arises. You must have a plan, and you getting out of debt is part of making a plan. Make a plan on how to get out of debt, and you can actually build it into your budget. This is one thing I wanted to say. David Barron says use a budget will help you pay down the debt. A budget can help you schedule when the debt will be paid off. A lot of times you can do the math and figure out how much you're going to put on this debt, and then when that one's paid off, how much you're going to put on that debt. You can put a schedule and you can put a timeline on your calendar of, you know, I think it was 2007, but I want to say it was October 10th of 2007. I'm pulling out of the driveway with Jenny, and I look over and say, hey, guess what? Debt's done. We're free. But at any rate, if you use the budget, you can actually put on the calendar when you will be out of debt, and that is a magical thing to look forward to. Spend less than you earn. You must have a budget in order to control spending less than you earn. And when you get out of debt, you can ensure that going forward, you will spend less than you earn. And then you can look forward to retirement. And again, retirement is not an age. It certainly is not dictated by the government. It certainly is not dictated by any company or anybody else. It's by you. And retirement is when you can spend less than your money grows after inflation. All right, so here's the things that you need to do. Do it with your partner. Stop going into debt. David Barron, how many times have I said that? If it's less than 100, I got to say it a few more times. Build all your minimum payments into your budget. Put all the available cash towards the smallest debt. When the smallest debt is complete, focus on the next one. Continue until everything is paid off. If you have any questions, email me, brad@reallifetrading.com. Otherwise, just want to say thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you guys for being here in the webinar. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in, contact me, and until next time, trade on logic, not on hope. Have a good one, everyone.